Hello and welcome to the Voice of Todd. I'm Tom, and with this video we're going to take a look at this week's WandaVision. That's right, episode 4. I think it's called episode 4. I found out that these do actually have names, so in future videos I'll keep an eye out for that and I will label them properly. But before we get into it, if you do enjoy this video or any of my other content, please do hit that subscribe button. Like the videos as well if you desire. That really does help, and it appeases the algorithmic gods that we work with here, and I really appreciate it. The support has been fantastic. This is a very new channel, really enjoying what I'm doing. I hope you're enjoying it too, and it means a lot that you're just even watching these, so thank you very much. But let's get into why you're here. There's a lot to talk about. There will be spoilers for this episode and the last 3 episodes of the season as well. It's just the nature of this episode. So if you haven't caught up, now is your chance. They are pretty quick episodes. I'm not going to be going anywhere, let's put it that way. But if you're still here, let's just get straight in. I really enjoyed the season up to now. I think the last 3 episodes have really shone, and they've absolutely nailed the aesthetic that they were going for with the 50s, 60s, 70s stylized nature of them. It's really worked. It's been really refreshing, and it was almost too much, I think, with the 60s vibe, but it moved into the 70s, and last week was really good. Complete shift with this episode. The opening is absolutely insane. I really wasn't expecting much from this show. I have been really surprised with how good it has been and how tight everything about it has been. I think I've got my money's worth already in 3 episodes. And then we get this, and it just off the scale, just craziness. Wow. We open with Rambo Jr. undusting, as I call it, or unblipping, as the MCU calls it. It's such a stupid name for that. Blipping. The blip. Anyway, as Rambo Jr. is put back together post-Endgame, we hear Captain Marvel in her ear, calling her Lieutenant Trouble, which he did in the film probably, 29 years before? Is it 2025 I think we are in now in the MCU timeline at present. Captain Marvel was 95, 96, so about 30 years, something like that. But it's quite a nice touch, and it will hopefully help the casual fans to link the two if they haven't already. The effects are really good. Obviously we're 5 years on, but she has just appeared in an empty hospital bed, sitting in a chair with nobody in there, all on her own. Seemed a bit weird, but she gets up, she moves out of the room, and it's so wonderfully chaotic. There's people undusting everywhere, just randomly popping into existence. It's pure chaos. Absolutely loved it. She finds a doctor who recognises her straight away. She's asking where her mother is. It sounds like Mama Rambo was in for surgery. The doctor, this dialogue, it felt really clunky and very unnatural to me. But she basically says, "Oh, it's you. You're here. Your mum's not here. Your mum died 3 years ago. You disappeared 5 years ago." And that's pretty much it. But I suppose it's trying to just set the scene, but it just felt terrible. Really clunky, didn't gel with me, and it's really my only complaint here. But a really good, really interesting opening that totally throws the door wide open to anything this episode. First 5 minutes, it's really background on Rambo Jr. and on Sword. It turns out that Sword was partly set up by Mama Rambo. I don't know if that's how it is in the comics. It doesn't really fit with the Rambo, Maria Rambo I think she's called, is it? Mama Rambo in Captain Marvel. She didn't seem like the kind of type to be putting on a suit and setting up a shield-like entity. But I'll let it fly. But she's dead. She died 3 years ago. We meet the new acting director. He's called Tyler Haywood. He's really sorry that he got the job and that Rambo Jr. wasn't around to give him her seal of approval. Alright, that's my second complaint. I just don't think that, captain as she is, she would be in any position to be calling shots on who runs SWORD. I don't buy it. I don't like it, but this is a trend with what Hollywood is making, so we'll go with it. It doesn't break the story. I also want to know what the deal with SWORD is. I don't understand yet, and maybe that's part of the point. I just don't get what they're doing. Rambo Jr. also has a pretty bad attitude. I didn't love her in the first 3 episodes, but she was fine. She wound me up a bit in the last episode, actually. I just don't like her here. I don't need to. I'm not meant to like her. She's not a character that I would have fallen in love with anyway. I don't know enough about her yet, but she just comes across really crap. But anyway, she's got a new mission. She's to link up with FBI agent, not SHIELD agent as I previously called him, FBI agent Jimmy Woo, Randall Park. Really like Randall Park. He is in Always Be My Maybe, which is a film that I love. I don't know why, I just love it. That's the first time I think I saw him, or that I remember seeing him. And since then I've just loved him and everything. Really good actor, really fun, brings a lot of energy. Works. Will lays down the story. Missing person who the contacts they had for the missing person never heard of, who lived in a town that no one's ever heard of, even though the police that he's asking about the town are standing next to the sign with the town name. Really weird. Obviously Wanda is playing games with the local area. She's obviously wiped the memories of the people in the surrounding, so maybe she's being hunted. Maybe she's trying to protect herself by putting up this bubble and making people forget that it even existed. Really big questions here. Things that I hope will be answered. I don't think they will be, but I would like to think that we'll get something on that. Really interesting. So anyway, Rambo Jr. sends in a drone which goes into the dome and disappears, so she just walks up to it and, well, she walks up, half walks in, half gets sucked into the dome, and now she's part of the show. Then we get another familiar face. Darcy Lewis, played by the wonderful Kat Dennings. She was in Thor and Thor the Dark World. We won't talk much about the latter. But she's been brought in as an astrophysicist. I'm guessing Jane Foster wasn't available. But SWORD need her to find out, as part of a small group of different scientists with different backgrounds, to find out what's going on. SWORD seem like a group of absolute assholes. Every single one of them. But anyway, so Darcy quickly realises that there is a broadcasting signal hidden within the radiation that's being emitted from this dome. She figures out that it's a TV show and requests an old TV. As SWORD send in Agent Franklin to infiltrate the town, find Rambo Jr., he goes in through the sewers. You can probably guess what's going to happen to him. As all of this is happening, we don't actually know what's going on inside the dome, because what we know as episode 1 and the start of this series now kicks in, now the TV's set up. So whatever happened previously, we have no idea. But right now, Darcy is watching WandaVision. She's really getting into it as well, just like everybody else did with the first episode, I think. But she does ask if Vision is actually dead. I think that's going to come up later in the season. Nobody actually confirms or denies, but we may get some hints. Also, a total offshoot, but this radiation that's being emitted, it's the same as the radiation that was created when the Big Bang happened, or that caused the Big Bang. I'm not really up on my astrophysicist-y stuff. But did the Time Stone have something to do with the Big Bang, or were the Infinity Stones created at the time of the Big Bang and were then collected at different points in the progression of the universe? I can't remember. I don't know if it's been explained. If anybody knows, let me know. Anyway, back to the show, and there are a lot of reused shots in this episode from the previous three. It really works. It ties everything in nicely with the time period that we've seen in the last three episodes. Pretty good use of pre-recorded material as well. But they use the show to identify the residents in the town, because nobody's going to remember them. And they kind of get, well, at least Darcy and Jimmy Woo get caught up in the sitcom a little bit. Darcy seems to know Rambo Jr. as well. I don't know if it's just because she's missing and people want to know where she is, or if she's this big hotshot that people would have heard of if they're adjacent to S.H.I.E.L.D. I don't know. Might be answered, might not be. But at this point in episode 4, they're watching episode 2. This is where Woo sends the signal to Wanda. From the outside, we see what actually happens with Jimmy sending the radio signal. Darcy's watching the TV screen. And as the radio goes off and the static kicks in, the episode jumps to where Wanda has wrapped, can't remember her name, Dottie's hand in the tablecloth. We saw what happened. There was no rewind, but clearly in the MCU, Wanda is censoring any negativity or any outside world interference. She doesn't want anybody to know. So she's obviously broadcasting this on purpose. We then get a moment on the TV where it plays the Strucker ad, which follows the episode. So these episodes are being created by Wanda or whatever is in there with her as well. Now it's interesting that it's the Strucker ad, because Strucker is the person who created her or gave her her powers. He's also Hydra. Is this pointing to some kind of Hydra involvement somewhere? I feel that it is. I think Hydra is going to show up at some element in an episode, however brief. But we don't know yet. But we're at the part with Franklin where he turns into the beekeeper. He comes out of the sewer and you get the shot from his perspective of seeing Wanda and Vision. Wanda saying no, and that's it. There's no mention of him outside of the barrier in the MCU real reality. I don't know what's happened to him. Is he actually still stuck in there somewhere? Has Wanda just killed him? He's not outside that we know of, but he doesn't seem to be inside that we know of either, so what's happened there? That might come up later, who knows. But he became a beekeeper for a reason, I think. I'm still on that swarm theory. Now we're caught up to last week's episode. It's the birthing scene, and again, Woo and Darcy are caught up watching it, and the twins plot twist. And then we get the Ultron name drop. Woo picks up on this straight away and asks if that's the first time that their reality has been referenced inside the show. Seems like it is, but there's no point in this that you see Pietro being mentioned. I don't know if that doesn't count or if that's a thing. Who knows? But they've picked up on this idea that maybe Wanda does know what's going on. And this is, again, same point where last episode went really interesting. This episode goes really interesting because we jump inside the dome and we're actually in the scene. Now, on the outside, the sword agents watching get a completely cut from Wanda talking to... No, they hear Ultron mentioned. They see Rambo Jr. sit down, and then it cuts to the end credit scene. So all of that sequence is just censored by Wanda. What we see inside the dome and inside the house is Wanda using her powers to forcibly eject Rambo Jr. Wanda's different. She's more like she is at the end of Endgame, from my recollection of it. She's focused, she knows what she's doing, and she's putting all of her power into it. She seems shocked by this, either by what she's just done, or what she's capable of, or maybe she's losing control. I don't know if it is just the realization of what she's done, or is it that her powers actually... Because even in colour, we didn't see her using her powers like we know her to in the real reality. There was none of the red flash and orbs until Rambo Jr. was blasted out the dome. That happens here. She's proper Scarlet Witch here. I feel that what we're seeing is a completely grief-stricken, angry, broken Wanda. She's created this bubble, wiped everybody's memories, somehow brought Vision back, and anything that threatens the stability that she's created and the happy family life, the perfect family life, she instantly turns and something takes over. Now, she got her powers from an Infinity Stone. And then she was dusted. We don't know where the people who were dusted went. Something happened, and she came back, and she's fighting Thanos. My question: when she came back, did she bring something with her? Something more violent? Or some kind of entity, a cosmic entity that has latched on somehow? Maybe there's a link between the Time Stone that gave her powers and then it being destroyed, and it's done something to her. We don't know. But I'm not entirely sure that she's the one in control here. Anyway, back to the show. We're at the point where Vision bursts in the door, checking on that Wanda's alright. Just like he did last episode, and Wanda, she turns to him, and she sees real Vision. Grey, reanimated, a hole in his head where Thanos ripped the stone out. And then she looks away and back to him, and he's normal. It's like we saw him in the episode last week. But I think Vision's onto her. He doesn't seem all that sure that she's telling him the truth. Cut to Rambo Jr. She's waking up outside after she's been ejected from the dome. She remembers everything, and she knows that it's all Wanda. That she thinks. We finish the episode with Wanda pretending everything is normal. Vision does not look sure. He's definitely concerned. He feigns smile, but he's definitely concerned. They're sitting on the sofa with the babies, watching TV, as they end every episode. And Hendrix plays us out. I love me some Hendrix. Again, a lot happened with this episode. More questions than answers, I feel, certainly for me. But I thought this was a really good episode. Very different, big change in pace. There's the happy-go-lucky stuff that we've gotten used to has just gone. We really got to look behind the curtain here. We've seen what's going on in the world surrounding this, the actual MCU reality. I still can't get my head around the post-Snap universe. It seems like everything's back to normal and everything's fine and nobody talks about it. But from this, which is about 3 weeks after the events of Endgame, and from Spider-Man Far From Home, the second one, everybody seems to be just making light of the snap. I don't get it. I don't like it. Something as big as that throws up so many possibilities. You know, people disappeared for 5 years and then just reappeared unaged. I want them to address that in some way. I don't know if it will be done in this show, but I hope that there's a film or a moment somewhere that addresses this situation, because that really bugs me. We also get a feel for who Rambo Jr. is in this. It's filling her backstory, maybe because she's going to become more prominent in the future. I really don't like her. That's fine, I don't need to like her. Wu and Darcy were brilliant. I hope they stick around for the rest of the season. I have a feeling that they will. You wouldn't bring in such big names as the two of them, certainly in the TV field, if you weren't going to utilise them and use their characters properly. We got a little bit more on Sword, but I still have no clue what they're actually doing. I have no clue what their point is. I'm guessing this show is really just building blocks for Phase 4 at this point. But I don't know how much we're going to get in terms of linking up with Phase 4 here. This feels like it'll set up the Doctor Strange sequel, but maybe not much more. I've already touched on how I feel about Wanda and what's going on. I definitely think that there is some semblance of another entity, or maybe the next big bad has come back with her or taken an interest in her because of her powers and is manipulating her somehow. We don't know. Excluding this, we haven't had a film since, I want to say, August 19. So we're 18 months. We won't be getting Black Widow anytime soon, I don't think. So all we've had is this. So maybe I'm just trying to draw too much out of it. I don't know. But I definitely want, now they've brought in the wider world, I definitely want to see more of what's actually going on with the humans as such. I don't need the Avengers, I don't need the Guardians, I don't need any other superheroes apart from Wanda and Vision. But knowing what's going on with these organisations will be quite nice. Or even how the world is ticking at the moment. Maybe I'm asking for too much. But I really want to know what you thought of the episode. There's a lot to discuss, I think. You probably have a lot more theories than I do. So let me know. Let me know any details I've missed. Have I missed anything from the season? Is there anything that I've just hasn't hit me yet? I do feel like I need to watch Infinity War and Endgame again. I'm hopefully going to get some time to do that this weekend. It might even help with the future of the show, being able to link in what happened with the last Avengers films. Who knows? I still feel that anything can happen. We've got 5 episodes left. We're not even halfway through yet. I'm really loving the show, and I'm really surprised by how good it is. But anyway, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.